Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now I'm going to show you how to do this simple Scottish granny shawl. Now it's a granny stitch or a cluster stitch, whatever you want to call it. On the end you've got a little V-stitch, just 2 stitches at the end, keeps it with a perfect straight edge that even a beginner can do. Now I've nearly finished my ball of yarn. The yarn I've used to do this one is called Unforgettable by Red Heart. It's a weight 4 yarn, but you can use any yarn you want. Use any yarn. Use scraps of yarn if you want. Do it in sections of different colours if you want. Do it all one colour. It's up to you. Now the name of this one is Whimsical. This is the name of this yarn. It's called Whimsical. It's really pretty. Now you can use any yarn and make it as big as you want. When you've got it as big as you want, cut your yarn and thread the end through your loop. So if you want to finish it, just cut your yarn and pull it through and tighten it and sew in your end. And do it to the height that you want. Do it as big as you want it. Make it for a child, make it for an adult, make it for your mum, make it for your granny, make it for your sister. It's absolutely beautiful and I'm going to show you how to do it. So we're going to start this with a slip knot and we're going to do a chain of 4. If you can't do a slip knot, then just tie it on to your hook. You're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now that becomes your first treble crochet. So yarn over and into that bottom stitch you're going to put 2 more treble crochets. And if you're in the USA, these are double crochets for you. So that's 1 and 2. Now that gives you the point of the bottom of your shawl. So you've got your first little cluster, your little granny cluster. I'm just going to call it a cluster from now on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Turn your work around. Now right into that stitch, that very first stitch there below the chain, you're going to put a UK treble crochet. And if you're in the USA, that's a double crochet for you. So yarn over and into there. And this is going to make a V stitch. Now a V stitch is just 2 stitches and it works into the shape of a V. You're going to have that on either end every single row. So you're going to go into your middle stitch and you're going to build the cluster. That's 3 treble crochets or 3 double crochets if you're in the USA. So go in, 1, 2 and 3. That stitch went a little bit wide there. Now into the top of this one, right on the very end, you're going to put your V stitch. That's 2 treble crochets. Right into the very end. 1 and 2. Now you're going to repeat this row over and over again. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work. Now right into the bottom where that chain is, you'll put a treble crochet. Make your V stitch. So that's your V stitch. That chain counts as 1 part and that's 2. Now into the space. So there's your V stitch on the bottom. So into the space. In your shawl you'll only be working in the spaces. In the spaces. In the middle of your shawl. So into that space build your cluster. That's 3 UK treble crochets or 3 USA double crochets if you're in the USA. So that's 1, 2 and 3. It's the same stitch, it's just different terminology. So into the space, skip 3 stitches, so you're skipping that cluster and go into that space and do your next cluster. 1, 2 and 3, all into the same space. Now into the top of that chain of 3, put 2 treble crochets. Build your V-stitch, so that's 1 and 2, only 2 at the ends. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and you'll repeat that row. You're going to work a V-stitch on the end, put a cluster, a granny cluster into each space here, remember this end one, and then your V-stitch, that's your 2 stitches on the end. So into there, so that's your major V-stitch, you've got your 2 stitches together. Now in to the chain space, build your next granny cluster. 1, 2 and 3. Skip that cluster and go into the space and do your next cluster. 1, 2 and 3. Skip this cluster and into there, into the space, that's 3. Now into the top of that chain, into the top of the chain, count 1, 2 and 3 stitches and put your V-stitch in, that's 2 treble crochets, 1 and 2, and that gives it a nice edge, nice straight edge. And this is what you have. So your clusters will all get built in the spaces, and you'll have your V-stitch. You can see how it looks like a V. That's your 2 treble crochets at each end. So you chain 3, 1, 2, 3 and turn and do it all again as many times as you want. So right into that stitch there, you do your V-stitch at the beginning and you'll do a V-stitch at the end, and in between, in the spaces, you'll put your next granny clusters. So 1, 2 and 3. Over to the next space. 1, 2 and 3 in the space. Skip that one and into that space. 1, 2 and 3. Skip that cluster and go into that space. 1, 2 and 3. And then put your V-stitch in the top of that chain of 3. So right into the top of that chain. 1 and 2. And that'll keep a nice neat edge. And that's how your shawl is going to grow. You'll keep repeating that, and each time you do it, make sure you go in to that first space, do your V-stitch and then go into the space, and make sure you go in to the space at the end, and that's what's going to widen and increase your shawl. And you'll do that until yours is as big as you want. Now I need to add another ball of yarn onto mine. Now make it as big as you want. You don't have to ask how many rows to do. Stop when you're happy with it. When it is wide enough to go around your shoulders, then stop. But this is a simple, basic granny stitch. Now, and when you do that V-stitch on the end, you get this lovely straight edge. Even a beginner will get a lovely straight edge like this. This is beautiful. So thank you to everyone who's been going on my coffee page and buying me a cup of coffee. The proceeds from that will help to keep the channel running. I'll leave a link underneath the video. Now, if you want to click on the join button, you can support the channel through YouTube by clicking that join button and follow the instructions there. And you can subscribe to the channel completely free. It's completely free to subscribe to YouTube channels. Just click on that subscribe button. Get your friends to subscribe. Get your family to subscribe. Help me get this channel up to 500,000. That's our next target. And if you click on the bell icon, then YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So thank you very much for watching. Give this very simple Scottish granny shawl a try. Give it a try. It's really easy. You just keep doing that one row, and when you're finished, just cut your yarn, bring it through your last stitch and pull it and sew in the end. That's how you finish it. Just like this. It's absolutely beautiful. It is beautiful. So give this Scottish granny shawl a try.